Hello everybody and welcome to tonight's Nathan's Helpful CNC Tips, which is a nicer version of me saying what did Nathan screw up tonight. In this case, I screwed up this. And I figured out what I was doing wrong, and so we're going to do it, and it's all going to be based on the origin, on how we set origin on the machines. So there's something here that's common sense, or should be common sense, probably is common sense to a lot of you, and I just totally spaced it out and forgot about it tonight. Ordinarily, what I do when I'm doing things is I put down a piece of material, set my origin where it's going to be. I cut out, I do all my cuts onto it, and everything is good and golden, and nothing really matters that much. As long as my design is on the material, we're good to go. Everything cuts out correctly, and we're just set. So right now I'm redoing our kitchen cabinets actually. So I've been doing doors, I've been doing drawers, and started out doing full sheets or raw sheets of MDF and cutting everything out, and everything cut out just fine. But I was getting ready to switch to my next set of cabinets, and I was like, well, these are already MDF, and I'm just changing the contour and the shape of them a little bit. So why don't I just reuse those instead of buying MDF to start from scratch? So, brilliant idea, and I are a genius. So that's what I started to do. However, I was not having a big raw sheet that I could cut out everything all at once, so I needed to work with something that's already cut out and sized out correctly. So to make that happen, I figured out I'd do the, again, common sense thing, which I'd lay down some hard rails, so that I put down a piece of MDF in both directions. I actually take my machine and I cut through it all the way that way, cut through it all the way that way. Now I've got two perfectly straight lines that are most importantly square to the machine itself. So really good idea when you're doing the same part over and over again. Just slap it down, secure it down, run the file, and we're good to go. But I did this and it didn't cut right. So when this was done, and this is actually my second one, this I was doing some modifications to it, I ended up with thicker here and thinner here and here, and none of the measurements were actually the way I had them set up through VCarve. So nothing was actually right. It was shifted, it was not fantastic. And I could not figure out, and it was close enough that unless you're really paying attention, you probably wouldn't notice. But I was actually paying attention. It's like, well, that didn't look right. Grab my calipers, and sure enough, I was off by about 1/8 of an inch in every direction. 1/8 too thick, 1/8 too thin, and everything else. And I was trying to figure out what the hell was going on. And I was like, oh, that's right, I'm stupid. So when we set origin, you can see right there, that is my absolute 0, 0 position for this machine. It cannot physically move any further in either direction. So I mark that, makes it easier. If I have to do any adjustments, I can go right back to the same spot and set up everything that way. And I did my cuts and everything there based on starting out at that 0, 0 position, slapped the material on there, and I spaced out. Then I'm not dealing with a laser, I'm dealing with a bit. So it is a circle, and my 0, 0 position is there. It's not there where the end of my cut is. It's not there where the end of my cut is. It's dead center. So when I'm setting my 0 there, I'm setting my origin. Let me get my finger out of the way. When I'm setting the origin to right there, I am actually off by half a bit diameter in two different directions, which is pushing this entire cut that direction, half that bit diameter. Right now I'm doing 1/4 inch bit, or 25 end mill, so it's pushing it 0.125 this way, 0.125 that way. And that was irritating. I wasted a couple good drawer fronts trying to figure this out. So the way to fix this, and I'm using a VCarve, so I'm not 100% sure how to do it, like an SLCam, stuff like. I stopped using SLCam because it was not giving me good cuts here at all. It was leaving all kinds of texture for some reason. All this, I'm not going to bitch about it. It was free, did a good enough job until we were doing pockets. And then, so now I'm using VCarve. So, the way to fix it on VCarve is when you're doing your basic material setup, where you're doing your dimensions and everything else, and you're telling it where your origin is. And in this case, my origin is down here in this left-hand corner. There is a little box right to the right of that that's going to be asking you if you want to use an offset. And you do. whatever in this situation, again, if you're cutting just out of stock material, doesn't matter, but when you're cutting into something that's fixated like this, you absolutely want to be doing an offset. In this case, you want to be doing a negative offset of 0.125, and then doing a negative y, so x, and then a negative y offset of also 1.25. So the machine is not going to move from this position. I mean, that's physically as all it's going to be, but the G-code is going to start the cut over here, which is going to bring this down here, and all of a sudden this lines out just correctly. So you can see here, this is my first attempt, and I was working on the offsets and was doing it wrong. And this cut here, where you see that little ridge, you see matching one over here, that's actually correct. So I've measured it out, grabbed my calipers, and this is now correct. Same diameter both ways. This is now correct. Everything is actually correct. So it's just by using that little offset and telling the machine we're starting here as opposed to here, takes care of everything. It's common sense. I knew better, and I wasn't paying attention to it, and I wasted some material. I got 2 drawer fronts now that I'll have to start from scratch on those. Not a big deal, it's just MDF, but still, if I was doing expensive wood, this would be much more irritating. So anyway, you just want to, doing this exact setup, if you're doing something similar and you got to have this laid out correctly, just do that negative offset in both directions. If you do positive offset, it's going to take this cut and move it up this way. It's actually going to move it to right there, because I didn't know for sure how the offset was working in V-carve, and I moved it the wrong direction first time. So do your negative offset, push it down this direction, and then everything should lay out correctly, and then you don't have to make any videos saying, hey, look how stupid I am. Well, I'm always good at saying, look how stupid I am. I make mistakes so you don't have to. So hopefully this helps out. Hopefully if you run into this similar situation, you can remember how to fix this. It's quick, it's simple, it just takes a little bit of adjustment in the G-code. So we're off. You have a good night.